I applied to over 100 digital marketing and web data analytics jobs over my lifetime. And if I had to do it all over again, here are the tips that I would use to shortcut the process and get to where I am faster. Hi, my name is Will, and if you're not familiar with me, I've actually been working over 8 years in the digital marketing and now web analytics, data analytics space. For the first 5 years, I worked for a digital marketing performance agency, which grew to be one of the top agencies in the state and surrounding areas. I saw the company grow from about 15 people to now over 100 individuals. And then I transitioned to another agency for the next 3 years of my life where I worked as a digital marketing data analyst, and I got promoted to a senior level over that time frame. So I really want to cover how I can help others improve, help you get there faster. And when you look back at my own life, I certainly believe that if I wanted to get to where I am right now, regrettably, honestly, however you want to put it, I probably could have gotten here faster. It wouldn't have taken 5 years working at that first agency. So if I had to start all over and do it again, I think the first big change I would have made is I didn't need to spend 5 years at this agency. I would say by my 4th and 5th year, I was already plateauing in terms of what I was learning and what I was doing, to the point where it was getting very repetitive. I was already kind of senior level at that company. And so I was doing a lot more training and teaching and a bit of managing than I was learning and getting new skills. In fact, if I was learning and contributing new skills, it was almost one of those situations where I had to spend my own time outside of work or before work to kind of read up on marketing news or tools and then share that through the team's communication channels. We use Slack, which is a very common internal business tool. So then how do you actually do it if you were in my shoes? Okay, so you would reduce the time. When would you have jumped? Well, probably year 3 or year 4 if I really wanted to do it. I think one thing you got to look out for is complacency or getting comfortable. So I was getting really comfortable at that agency, and it was good enough. So I just, if at the time I was just like, it's a good work-life balance. They treat me well enough. Why would I consider going somewhere else? And I think that comfort is actually what keeps a lot of people staying still at their job and so forth. And so if you really wanted to get it done at a record pace, maybe even after your second full year, that's possibly where you may have had enough skills to start to consider, moving to that next step, which is as a digital marketing analyst. Now, here's the distinction I think people miss, which is people think that they can jump directly from scratch, let's say out of college, to a data analyst, a marketing data analyst role. Now, can you do that? In theory, you could. And you would have the skill sets in college if you got a degree in that to potentially do that. But if you don't have that degree or experience, which I didn't, I actually had a degree in science, in biology actually, it wouldn't make sense to make that move because now you're kind of a bit more competing in an uphill battle where you don't have the degree and then you probably don't have the experience or skills. So then why would they hire you over someone with a marketing degree? Now, the good news is that marketing degree is not as amazing as you think. I would give it a very slight edge, but still an edge if you just have everything else equal. So for me, in a situation like me, or if you're similar and you don't have a degree or background in the space, then I still firmly believe that first job, that stepping stone job, was really pivotal and key. Because when I started applying, when I got that second job as a digital marketing analyst, I was able to speak to so many different things and experience and give real world stories of me using tools like Google Tag Manager, Google Analytics 4, that they felt like I was legitimate. They felt like this guy actually knows these tools, has some experience. He may not have all the experience, which I did not. He may not know all the skills that we're going to be needing, but he has enough of them that I'm going to give him a chance. And so that's really crucial. Don't discount an entry level or stepping stone job. You're not going to get there immediately. At least most of you won't. So don't discount that entry level job that's kind of like a stepping job into potentially multiple different career paths. So that's huge. And there's thousands of agencies across the country and even more across the world. So getting a entry level job as a digital marketer is easier than you think. And then once you get that, then you can kind of branch out into these other areas where there's higher pay, higher work-life freedom, and all this other stuff. So that's the first big thing. And then the second big thing is, I would say it could be really crucial to have much more awareness of the landscape of what skills are needed. So one exercise I would recommend is at least once a week, maybe multiple times a week. You don't have to do it every day, but like let's say every 2 times a week or something along that frequency. Go through LinkedIn and get very specific with the job role you want, and then look at a few job postings from like reputable companies and just look for patterns, because you're going to see them if you do it with this frequency. You get a sense of the hard skills that are needed, and those are typically the big things that they're struggling to find candidates for. In my experience, they still don't have a lot of people who are really savvy with Google Cloud, BigQuery, and then being able to write SQL and Python at a high level. And for my role, I just need it at a beginner level. But if you're looking at a big company at like Netflix, you're going to need SQL or Python at a very high level. So being able to have a map of the land of the most common skills that they're constantly lacking and looking for helps you understand, okay, what do I need to hone and flesh out that I don't have? So you'll be able to learn some of this on the job. You'll even be able to steer the ship sometimes. And that's what I've done in my career sometimes, where I notice I'm lacking certain skills. Maybe it's in Tableau or Power BI or SQL or Python as mentioned. And I can ask for that on the job, or there's certain clients who have that already and they're seeking me to kind of do it anyway, so I can ask for those clients at an agency and then learn those skills for free. I've even been able to get certifications like for Tableau, which is not cheap. It's hundreds of dollars for the certification and the exam. I get that training paid for when I'm trying to learn these skills because they need it done to help with these jobs. So that's another key thing. And if you're not aware of what those skills are, and they do kind of change sometimes from year to year, then how are you going to be able to steer the ship? So that's how you flesh out the skills you don't have, and then you really break through. And the end result can be very lucrative. I mean, if you're able to nail a top position at Netflix, and the salary ranges can go anywhere from 100K to 720K. I know it sounds almost unfathomable, but at the highest of levels, at a company like Netflix, you can actually get those ranges. And I'm not just pulling these numbers out of thin air. Netflix, it offers salary transparency on LinkedIn. So they will literally tell you the range of salaries that they're willing to pay for like a senior level data science job like this. I mean, imagine making almost $1 million a year doing work like this. Now, that's at the highest extremes, but for me, maybe for you, if you're just comfortable making something at the lower end of that range, you're set. I mean, so that's how I would kind of look at that role, and how I could potentially do it again if I were to teach my younger self or teach you how to get there sooner. Now, what about the amount of jobs I've applied to? I've applied to hundreds, and how do you actually stand out and reduce your frequency of applying and not just enter the black hole of death where you're just sending out resumes and never hearing back? Well, I think the key answer to that is networking. Yes, you have to be on point. You have to have the skills necessary. It's not like you can just not have those skills and then allow knowing the right people to do all the work. But once you have the skills and skill sets, I would say networking can really up level you. So take how I got my most recent job. Um, I had the skills, but I was also networking a lot. I was applying through the front door as well, but I was just firing on all cylinders. And in my experience, having done over 100 informational interviews with people with job roles I wanted to, a good portion of them admitted to me that knowing the right people helped them get their job application on the top of the resume pile. And that could be the tipping point of being seen or just being missed amongst a bunch of other candidates. And for me, because I was networking a bunch, not through like networking events, I think that's a really spray and pray approach that's very ineffective. What I was doing was more of kind of like targeted networking. So essentially, what you're doing is like you're going to specific companies you admire, specific job roles you admire, local, people who have knowledge in those areas, and just having 5-10 minute coffee chats with them. And I reached out a lot on LinkedIn. Be prepared to get like less than like a 5% response rate, not even acceptance rate, but response rate from the people you reach out to. But I did a lot of these virtual or in-person coffee chats, and through that, eventually a portion of those people, not all of them, but a small portion, will notice your skills, and then without being prompted, I wasn't trying to be too transactional with it because that can turn people off. They will naturally examine your skill sets and refer you into a company and say, hey, this may be a role for you. And while applying through the front door also got me job interviews and so forth, with this particular job I ended up getting, he referred me into a job I wasn't even considering, and lo and behold, I got the interview and then eventually the job offer. So really try the networking method that I mentioned. I don't have a name for it yet, but that's something that you can certainly do. I actually learned it from a course called Dream Job by Ramit Sethi. He calls it natural networking. And that's essentially how I did it. So if you want to learn more about how you can get this specific job title that I have, there's a free email newsletter where I give even more exclusive tips for free. You could join in the link below. And then other than that, subscribe and like this video. Leave a comment with your own tips so we can support our community. Thank you for watching.